Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Deep Thoughts. And today we are talking about Dr. Stone, episode 15, the culmination of 2 million years. But before we begin, though, I do have to give a big thank you to those of you who shared last week's Dr. Stone video over on Twitter, namely at HarrisonVGC, at Nacho Gashardo, at Steel Ram Jack, at Isabella Copi, and at Shonen OG. Thanks so much for sharing last week's video, everybody. It is super appreciated. And if you too would like to have your name shouted out in next week's Dr. Stone video, then be sure to share this video around on the internet and then tag me at JoJo Talks Too Much over on Twitter, and I will be sure to shout your name out in next week's video. Okay, now with that said, we gotta dig into what could very well be one of my favorite episodes thus far. It is definitely in my top 10. I loved this friggin' thing, but no more suspense. Let's go ahead and get into it. I got two big things that I gotta talk about in regards to this week's episode. We have to talk about the Grand Bout wrap-up because it is hilarious, and we gotta talk about Ruri's recovery. Holy cow, it was all leading to this. This feels like such a culmination, not just like for this arc, but the show as a whole felt like it was all leading to this, especially with that ending twist, but we will get there. We gotta start from the beginning to get to the end of the episode, so let's go ahead, before we talk about Ruri's recovery, and jump back a little bit to the beginning of the episode and talk about the wrap-up for the Grand Bout. Now, Ginro, my boy. Ginro is my son. I love Ginro to pieces. This is well known, but Ginro is equal parts the most perceptive and yet the most oblivious person I think I've seen in anime this season. And I wouldn't say this year. We've had some pretty oblivious characters this year, but he is without a doubt one of the most oblivious this season and last season. Ginro is impressively... But he's so Ginro. Like, he's the type of character where his oblivious nature can get him into these shenanigans that I'm sure some people might be like, ugh, if it was any other character. But the fact that it is Ginro, our boy Ginro, he kind of gets a pass because he is perceptive as well. Because Ginro rightfully points out, like, hey, Ruri, I know you wanted Chrome to win. It's all good. Like, I get it. You know what? Maybe oblivious is the right term. I'm not going to go back on that. Oblivious is the right term. But because he's also perceptive, maybe it could be that he's just sort of gullible. Like, Ruri's just like, no, I didn't have anybody in mind at all. And so, of course, Ginro's like, dope, okay, then it's me, King Ginro, or I guess Chief Ginro. And it leads to a genuinely funny scene where Senku has to take out Ginro with the most deadly weakness mankind has, and that is a shot straight to the nuts. May he rest in pieces. But yes, the battle between Ginro and Senku ends with Senku winning, and of course Senku's thinking like, oh, we got this in the bag. Okay, so I'll take a dive, and then Chrome wins, and we can all go home. Like, they can get married, we can get the cure. That's it, Bob's your uncle, we can all go home. But unfortunately, that's not what happens. It turns out that Senku is the winner, because Chrome passes out, because in fairness, Chrome got the ever-living hell knocked out of him and was clinging on for dear life just to stay awake. He just wanted to pass out that entire time. You can see that. And he even helps Senku make sure that he doesn't lose to Ginro. But, like, yeah, the man passes out and Senku wins. And at first, I was furious. Not, like, genuinely furious. I was just sort of like, really? Because in my head, I'm like, don't ruin the ship. Don't ruin the purest ship of last season and this season. Don't go there, Dr. Stone. Let Chrome and Ruri be happy together. But you knew deep down, like, as soon as this happened, it's like, well, yeah, Senku has to marry Ruri, but doesn't mean that Chrome and Ruri can't, like, have something on the side. I don't think I don't think Senku's really gonna mind that. But we don't gotta worry about that, because just as quickly as the two were married, they divorced. What whiplash this opening was. And what kills me, this is the only part of the episode. This is the only part of the episode that I was like, I didn't like that, because the rest of the episode I thought was hilarious, I thought was dramatic, I thought was super intense, super great, but the one thing that killed me is when they start going like, no, and of course, like, it's like, listen, man, I get it. It's your kid. So of course the village elder is going to be like, or not the village elder, the village chief is going to be like, no, I don't want this random outsider marrying my daughter, but you clearly know that Senku's been working outside of the village for a while now. You don't know why, but you know that it's been to help Ruri in some capacity. Can you please just, it's not so much the gray-haired guy. I like that guy already. I want to know more about the gray-haired guy, but it's the assistant, the woman who hangs out with the village chief. Like, she is my least favorite character in the show, because she's like, you know who she is? She's the waif from Game of Thrones. We're like, oh, you can't do that. Oh, he can't do that. Like, be quiet, let them do things. The chief, I understand. Ruri's his daughter. I totally respect that he's very panicky. But you, like, the other girl is just there to echo the chief, and it's like, it drives me insane, because by their own logic, Senku won. So at that point, know your role and shut your mouth. But it doesn't really matter, because everything works out, because Senku divorces Ruri so that he can take the vinegar and the alcohol and run away. And of course, Ruri's just like, am I gonna be the first priestess who ever gets divorced? Dang, what an impressive moment in history that turned out to be. And Senku immediately goes into the most Senkuiest race to invent something I've seen him on this entire show. I mean, this man goes full out science, like in a way I haven't seen Senku go in a while. Like he goes all out. He's sciencing it up to the point where the characters and yours truly have absolutely no idea what he's talking about. Like I'm sure it's accurate, but I was every other character in that scene where I was just like, yes, Senku, I totally know what we're doing. How many steps is this gonna be? I was just like Chrome, where I was like, cool. What are we doing? I don't super know, but it doesn't matter, because it felt so rewarding when we see like how the efforts, the hoops these characters are jumping through just to get there, just to get to the cure. And Senku dang near blows himself and Chrome up, by the way, in the process. And like just to make this cure-all drug, and the instant it is made, what a heavenly moment that was. So now we can go ahead and talk about Ruri's recovery. Well, I say like recovery, but it's a bit of a mix-up at first. It's a bit of a toss-up, because at first we don't super know what's gonna happen once she takes the actual cure-all drug. And I gotta say too, like that moment of them running with the drug, right? They're like, oh my God, we have it, we did it, like everything, 6 months, like half a year of work, it was all leading to this. And you know what? Every time they said half a year, I was like, you know what? It felt like it. And I don't mean that as a knock, it just like, this felt like such a long time coming. We've been with these characters for so long. So to see that, I actually had goosebumps, like when they're like, we did it. I was like, what? Yeah! Like, I felt it too. I was like, yeah, Kingdom of Science! And you know, but like, okay, here's the thing. I was like, yeah, we did it. Oh man, like my crew, they did it. Yeah. What made me even more happy, and it's not a knock against Ruri. I'm sure she's great. In fact, I love her already. But we didn't really know a whole lot about her other than she's sick and she's the priestess. Who we did know a lot about was Gen. So when they're running with the cure, I'm like, oh, good for them. That's awesome. I'm so happy. Blah blah blah. But when they're like, I guess you'll just have to wait have to wait at base by yourself. Ha ha ha. And they have the line of like, oh, I feel bad for Gen. And Senku's like, you shouldn't. And when you get back, my boy got his freaking cola. I was like, yes! I was so happy. What a joyous moment that was. Like both the cure-all drug and the cola. I was over the moon. I was so happy. I was like, yes, this is great. And the show did that on purpose so that it can scare you to death the next scene. Because making the cure-all drug, that's one thing. Actually diagnosing the problem and trying to figure out what is even happening, that's a whole other topic. And that moment where we're not sure where it's gonna go, I was like, is the show gonna go dark on me? And you genuinely feel like this might be it. Like Ruri may go here because she gets the drug, sure. But Senku even points out, if it's something bad, if it's like tuberculosis or something like that, I can't save her. She'll die. And you're like, damn. I was genuinely on the edge of my seat in that scene, because it was the realization that like maybe everything meant nothing. And I should have known that that's not what was going to happen, because I mean, this is a shonen. Of course they're going to win. But in that moment, And I have to give kudos to the team working on the show because they really sold it as though this is probably it. Because Senku even has that moment where he crouches down and you think that that's him realizing that he screwed up and Ruri's gonna die. And I was literally like freaking out because I was like, this is gonna change everything. This is gonna ruin everything if this happens. Like, I don't even know where the show's gonna go if this happens. So to have the moment of Senku being like, nah, psych, I know exactly what's going on. She has pneumonia, and pneumonia's no joke, unless you got me. And I was like, yeah, freaking Senku! And it then leads to yet another happy moment. And if I could give scenes alone a rating, the scene of Ruri's actual recovery, like genuinely her walking around, would get an S. If a scene could possibly get a ranking on this channel, it would be an S rank because that scene is brilliant. Because you have Tatsuya Kato's soundtrack, my favorite composer in the game. I will say though, this song specifically, like the song that plays during Ruri's recovery, really works on me because it sounds an awful lot like something you would hear in Free, and that's because this man composes for Free, and I love his freaking soundtrack. Now that said, this moment has been a long time coming. Seeing Ruri finally get to go out and like leave the village and breathe fresh air and run around and be happy and genuine, and I'm not gonna lie, you guys know me, I cry on the drop of a hat. I didn't have tears rolling down my cheeks or anything, but I was emotional. I was getting a wee bit misty-eyed. Now, I do attribute that mostly to Kato, but the scene is handled extremely well. Like kudos to the Dr. Stone's staff because they nailed it. I thought that scene was great. And it's then followed by Senku being awarded the position of village chief, and I thought like everything's hunky-dory and blah blah blah, and behold the new leader of Ishigami Village. What does this mean? What does this mean? That's Senku's name. That's Senku's name. I don't super know what this means because it's such a crazy cliffhanger to leave us on. I have an idea on what it could mean, and I think it's a pretty good hunch, but I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm going to ask that you guys don't spoil it if you're manga readers, although manga fans have been pretty good on the channel about Dr. Stone spoilers. But if you have a hunch, specify that it's just a hunch and not a manga spoiler. I think I know where this is going. With that said, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and give this episode the strongest possible A rank I could possibly give it. It is such a good episode. On that note, everybody, that just about wraps everything up. But before we go, as always, I want to give a big shout out to the good folks over on Patreon, namely those in the Earl Grey tier: Calvin Atkinson, Crowbar of Irony, Dominic, Urza, Ginkotaku, No For Nothing, Maria Teresa, Mirth Mouser, Omner Garamond, Cell, Shadow Creative, Sipco Games, Somastan, Steven, Tristan, and Verdon. Thank you all so much for your continued support over on Patreon, and hey, if you too would like to join the T Squadron, then by all means go ahead and check out that first link in the description to check out our Patreon page, see all the cool rewards you can get for as little as $1 a month, and get access to our Patreon exclusive Discord. But on that note, everybody, that's going to be a video, so I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, you've probably been on the internet long enough to know what to do already, so I ain't going to tell you, but I will say that it is appreciated. And if you are feeling stressed out today, then you go have yourself a warm cup of tea, and I will talk to you all again real soon.